have you been?
Good. Yeah, I've been I had a lesson with Anna Rudolph on Thursday, and pretty much from PogChamps until then I hadn't had any lessons, so I've just been playing by myself. I hit 800 and then fell back down a bit. So I feel like I'm just ready to learn new things in general.
For sure. Absolutely, for sure. Let's do that. That sounds great. Is there any like specific part of the game where you feel like it's always the same thing? Or like when does that happen? When do you get that feeling?
I feel really comfortable in the E4.
Oh.
The one that like just takes me aback slightly is whenever they move the queen pawn forward, but I know what to do, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Yes.
so then we're gonna go where you feel less confident. That's what we're here for. Okay, so let's play D4 then. Yes.
Okay, so then out of D4, I go D5.
Awesome. And do you have any preference if they play C4, if they play something else?
If they play C4, then I play E6.
Exactly. So, so what are you afraid of them playing?
I guess I know what to, you know what it is once the opening is finished, out of like a queen pawn opening for them, then I feel like I lack like some of the principles of what to do. Like when we learned Sicilian Dragon out of E4, some of the things that we learned that I remember learning with you were like potentially trying to get a rook on E8 and look to break through on this file, and then, you know, get the queen here, the bishop here, and move the rook over. Whereas with this one, I'm not quite sure what the principles are.
Makes total sense. Because that's so important that you know what the principles are. If you don't know the principles, then obviously after the middle or in the middle game, you're not really gonna feel confident about what to do. So
Yeah.
let's check that out. So okay, so then I'll play C4.
Okay, so I'm going E6.
The Queen's Gambit. Yes, awesome. I'll bring my knight out.
Declined.
All right, I'm gonna bring my second one out as well here.
Okay, bishop 7.
Okay. All right, I'll bring my bishop out.
I hate it when this happens. I don't know why the bishop being there just freaks me out. I know it shouldn't, but it does. Oh, wait, actually, I do have a question here. Okay,
Yeah.
This is good. Let's say you bring bishop out here. Is it better for me to throw a pawn here first or complete my triangle first?
I would say that it's exactly the same thing. Because the thing is that if you go h6, if they take on f6, that's really bad. Because then they're removing their good bishop and they're exchanging the bishop for a knight. And yeah, you remember 2 bishops, absolutely amazing. 2 bishops are worth more than a bishop and a knight. So you don't want to exchange your pair of bishops. So if they take here, that's going to be really bad. And then they're going to probably go back to h4. If they go like to d2 or something, then that's just a kind of waste of a move having gone here at the first place. So it just makes more sense to just go to h4. And if they go to f4, same thing. It's going to be a waste of a move. So they'll go there and then you can go c6.
Okay, but you recommend doing h6 before c6?
Yeah, you can do that just to kind of test the waters and see what they do. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we bring our pawn up. Castlemania. And we're getting our bishop out.
Okay.
Okay, so knight d7, you got your knight out. That's good. We're gonna castle as well. Awesome.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I'd like to know, like, around here, what some general ideas are, thinking of what to do. Like here, would it be kind of similar to the other way, similar to the Sicilian Dragon, where we try to get the rook here, maybe knight here to double protect that square? What do you usually do?
So in this position, what would you say is your worst piece? The least active piece you have?
The bishop.
The bishop, yeah. Right now, there's just this big... You've done the triangle, and the triangle is great and very solid, but the problem with the triangle is that it gets your bishop stuck on c8.
Okay.
So...
Okay.
You gotta get your bishop out. That's basically the most important thing here, because right now going rook e8, knight f8, I mean, there's not gonna be any real protection because your knight is already protecting h7. It doesn't matter. But what you need to do immediately is get your bishop on c8. So it's really difficult to get the bishop out on this diagonal because you have this pawn here, and this pawn can never be pushed to e5. This pawn will always be taken.
Yes.
So what you have to do is that you have to get the bishop on this diagonal.
And move all of those pawns?
No, don't worry. It's not as bad as it seems. So the way you can do that, there's traffic jam. Yeah, it's kind of like traffic jam. The way you do that is by taking on c4 first. And the reason why this is the first move is because when you take this pawn on c4, you are threatening this bishop on d3 immediately, so this bishop needs to move. And after bishop moves on c4, you can go b5 and kick the bishop away.
Okay, so then what's like the best move for the bishop here?
So the bishop will probably go back to d3. On e2, the bishop is not really doing a lot. Bishop d3, at least it stays in this diagonal. And now you can go bishop b7. And now you can see that now that the pawn is not on d5, that this bishop has potential. Right now it's still stuck, but it has potential, and that's what matters. Your pieces gotta have potential. They don't have to be active in the moment, but they gotta have potential to become active in the future.
Okay, this is so helpful because yeah, I do feel like this is when we're in like any queen pawn variation that I have to play, I always feel like I'm fighting to just get my pieces out.
No, I totally get that. And obviously if your bishop stays on c8, it's gonna be really hard to get your pieces out because the rook is also gonna be stuck on a8. So the bishop is not just being bad for itself, but it's also being bad for the connection of your pieces here. So it's really important to get that bishop out. And can you think of any idea of how you could now like activate this bishop? Like not in this exact moment, but what a plan could be to activate it.
So now I feel like pending what they do next, I could move my pawn to c5 to offer a trade. And if they take it, I would take back with knight.
Exactly, yeah, c5 is a really good idea. But can you see what the problem is of playing c5 immediately? Let's say that I would go, I don't know, random move.
I'm not sure I see it. Oh, this is hanging.
Yeah, exactly. The pawn on b5 is hanging, so that's why I said you cannot play c5 immediately. But first, you have to make sure that this pawn is not hanging when you play c5. So can you think of any way that you could protect this pawn so that you can play c5?
a6, then c5?
Exactly, yeah. a6 is a really good move. So yeah, it's just really important to get your pieces active. And I think that you're going to enjoy this more when you feel like you can move your pieces around. Because actually, it's really fun to play this with black. This bishop is going to become very active. And it's going to become a lot easier to play for you, I think. So, like, okay, let's say now, I don't know, idea could be maybe to go rook c1.
Now I can go c5.
Exactly, now you can go c5, yeah. And I think that most people will not take, because if I take, then what would you take with?
Knight.
Awesome. Yes.
To put pressure on the bishop.
Yes, exactly. Your bishop is great on e7, defending this whole pin, but your knight is really passive on d7, so you want to activate it and threaten the bishop, just like you said. Awesome. So look at the difference in this position. Look at how active all your pieces are.
This looks completely different. Wow.
So yeah, this is really awesome. And I guess something maybe like bishop e2 would be played, but let's see if that, for instance, they don't take here. Then let's say that they play something else. I think that queen e2 is typically a normal move because when you're trying to break the center, white's idea sometimes is to push e4 and e5. So queen e2 makes sense to start pushing here.
I think I would go... The first thing that comes to mind is c4.
I think that c4 is a little bit too much of a forcing move. When you go c4, then you're really like, your pawn is going to stay on c4 forever. You're not flexible. Do you know what I mean? When the pawn is on c5, you can still choose if you want to take here or if you want to go c4. You still have the option of doing both, because if white ever takes on c5 and you take back, then that's always going to be good for you. So white is never going to take here. So you don't have to stop them from taking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say that it's better to commit it. That's the word I was looking for. So you'd rather try to activate your pieces instead before you do any of that. Right now, which piece do you feel like could be activated? A piece that's not really doing a lot.
Could go rook c8.
Yes. Awesome.
Or e8. Okay.
Rook c8 is good because once again, the rook on e8, right now, there's not really anything going on the e file. So it wouldn't really do a lot there. But the rook on c8, this is a semi-open file as there's only one pawn on this file. So that rook will be of more use on c8 than this rook will be on e8, basically. Oh yeah, also another idea for me that's good to show is that now white can go e4. And I said that queen e2 was to prepare e4. But before, let's say that somebody would go e4 in this move. why does white need to go queen e2 instead of going e4 immediately? Because I think that a lot of people with white will play e4 immediately, but there's a problem here.
Okay, so the problem is, let's say I take with bishop first. I guess the order doesn't matter. Okay, if I take here, they take back with knight. Then I take with bishop. Actually, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that puts pressure on this square as well. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think that right now, so this knight here, there are 2 attackers on this pawn.
Yes.
But there are also 2 defenders.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it makes it easier instead of like calculating the whole line, because if you calculate a whole line, it's easy to like make a mistake in one of the calculations because it's like 5 moves forward. It's difficult. But if you just think about it like very logically, like, okay, I have 2 pieces attacking this pawn, there's 2 pieces defending. Because I am the first one to make a move, it's going to be white that takes the final capture. So if knight takes, bishop takes, knight takes. You're making the first move. There's 2 defenders. It's actually going to be 2 versus 1. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, but wouldn't it be bad for white? But isn't it better for them?
So
Wait,
it's
I'm
bad
confused.
for another reason. Because if you take it, then yes, that's going to be really bad for you. It's going to be good for white because they're winning a piece. But there's another reason why going e4 is bad. So you're right that you want to put pressure on this pawn, but right now there's 2 defenders of this pawn. Is there any way for you to eliminate one of those defenders?
C4. No, that might not. If I go B4.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. That's a really good move. And what happens then when you go b4 is that you're eliminating one of the defenders. So right now black has 2 attackers, white has 2 defenders. The defenders are going to win, but whenever the knight moves, the knight has to move. Then you take it. Exactly. So that's why it doesn't work then. That's why you have to go queen e2, because you need to have an extra defender there, so that whenever you kick away the knight, the queen is defending. So I just wanted to show you that little trick instead.
Yeah, no, that was this whole thing is blowing my mind right now. Do you mind if we play through that just so I can see it?
Of course. c4. Awesome. Knight c3. We're bringing this one out. Okay, we're bringing our knight out as well. Bringing the bishop to g5, the scary square.
Every time someone does that, I'm like, oh my god, like
not again. e3. Awesome. Castle is great. Bishop d3, getting the bishop out.
All right, so now knight.
Yep, getting the knight out. You want to get as many pieces out as possible.
Okay, so now's the crazy. Whoa! The whoa. Wait, hold on. No, not this. Is it not here and then there? Or you just take here first?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, and then you're here. Okay. Okay, this is the like seeing 20 moves ahead thing. Okay.
Oh no, you're gonna remember this. It's a super complicated line. Please don't.
I have it all written down.
Good.
It just felt weird. It feels weird because you're like, oh, and now I've hung my pawn. But when you take, then I go back here. Okay.
Exactly. And I mean, you didn't hang it. You took a pawn. You took a pawn. Whoops, sorry. You took a pawn and now you're taking it back. So, and the reason why you cannot go b5 here, I think it's good for you like to know, because otherwise you might play it because you don't really know the difference. If you go b5 here first, then the issue is that white can just take that pawn.
Yeah, and then I'm here, and that doesn't really help me accomplish my goal of clearing this diagonal.
Exactly. Okay. You're losing a pawn and you're not accomplishing your goal. That's why you gotta go here first, force the bishop to take it, and then you get b5 threatening the bishop, so you're actually forcing the bishop to move again. So you're getting a bunch of moves for free there.
Okay, and when the bishop goes back, now I'm gonna do my c5.
First, you gotta wait, because remember, we got this pawn hanging.
Oh my god, I have the a6. Okay, a6, then c5.
a6, remember to get this bishop out as well. You want to have your bishop in the open diagonal when you go c5. So the bishop's gotta be on b7, but then bishop b7, I would recommend you to go bishop b7 here first. First get your bishop out, then go a6, then go c5. Got
it.
And then we're looking at stuff like rook c1. Good. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to do. Rook e1, queen e2. I'm gonna go queen e2. Yes. And now you go for a c5. So what you want to do still now, e4 has not happened yet, so you don't have to be you don't have to be afraid of it. You just gotta react for what white does, but you don't really have to like be afraid of it. So you just want to get all your pieces active. So do you remember we were talking about first activating your rooks and then your queen?
Yes.
Rook c8, exactly. So now you go rook c8, and this is the exact same thing as if they go h3 first and then rook c8. But this is basically where the rook wants to be. This is the first move that you want to play for the rooks. This is really important to have it here because it just adds some extra protection for the c5 pawn as well, and it opens up, or it activates the rook in case you open up the c file. Okay, let's say that they do something else. Let's say that they go rook d1, which makes a lot of sense as well to get the rook in this file. Yeah, so queen c7 is good in the sense that you're removing it from this file, but the problem is that you're placing the queen in the same file as another rook.
Okay. Oh, okay.
No, but it was good. To move the queen is good. Just place the queen somewhere else that's not c7 because that's the same file as the rook.
Okay, how about here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great square because you're putting some extra pressure over this pawn. There's not really any good way for white to attack your queen, and you're getting away from these really annoying rook files. And now you can just let the rooks do their thing and place a rook on d8 and just go from there. But you just don't want to have your queen in the same file as a rook because there's always a lot of tactics. And also, it's also good because if, for instance, they go e4 now, you could, for instance, take on d4. So you're just protecting this pawn here.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, so you're stopping their advance of e4. So if they give you the time to go queen b6, go queen b6 because white's idea is to push e4, e5. So I think that's pretty much that. Do you have any questions about this?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is mind-blowing. I'm definitely gonna have to like rewatch this and go over it a bunch of times. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, this is great. I'm just gonna show you if we just go a few moves back. I just wanted to show you what happens really quickly because some people might be like, okay, you know what? I know that if I castle here, then, you know, Michelle is gonna take, and after takes, she's gonna go b5, and she's gonna activate everything with the bishop. Or she's gonna do the whole thing of activating the bishop, what we're looking at. So some people might say, you know what? Instead of castling, I'm gonna take on d5 and I'm not gonna let Michelle do that.
Okay.
And those people are very annoying people, Michelle, because it just it is annoying to play against that. But I think that then what you should do is that you should take with the e pawn then. And that looks kind of weird because you always have this idea that you want to centralize the pawn, you want to take towards the center with the pawns, but the reason why taking with the e-pawn could be a good idea is because this bishop will have this whole diagonal then.
Yeah, without having to move all of this.
Exactly. because if you take like this, then even if you go b6 and bishop b7, there's going to be a wall of pawns here.
Yeah, I think I've done that to myself. I've definitely done that to myself in games.
And it's really annoying. So that's why, even though it goes a little bit against the rule in this position, I think it's better to take with the e-pawn. Because after castles, you might have this idea of like rook e8, doing the idea that you wanted to do before, bringing the knight to f8 and then getting this bishop out.
Ooh, okay. And then, yeah, then I saw that knight queen pin.
Yeah, so the bishop pair is typically really good, but this bishop is so bad that, like, if you can exchange it for the queen, go ahead and do it. Like, this bishop is really bad. So if you're going to exchange it for a knight, I mean, so for a piece that's of equal value, just go ahead and do it because it's really a bad bishop in this line. In the other line, when it's on b7, it's a good bishop. But in this line, when it's over here and has to stay in this diagonal, it's a bad one. So if you get the chance to exchange it, just go ahead and do it.
Got it.
But
so is this just like at any point? Because I'm doing Queen's Gambit decline. Technically, their c4 pawn is lurking at all times, and they could take at any point. And if they just take it before I can take theirs, take back with e-pawn.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, then they would have to take on d5 before they castle. I think that a lot of people don't do that. I think that most people will just get all their pieces out and castle, which is why I showed you the other line first. But they could also take it there and be super annoying. And then you know what to do at least. You don't feel like, oh no, now I can't do anything anymore. Yeah. You have some idea.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a big thumbs up and also to subscribe. If you ever want to catch me live, go ahead and go to twitch.tv/AnnaCramling. Hope to see you there.